Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the Harold Porte Podcast. I'm your host, Harold Porte. Last week we broke down UFC Baku, Roundtree versus Hill. We hit on a couple predictions. We got Rafael Fiziev winning against Ignacio Bahamondes, and we got Mohammed Usman winning against um, Hamdi Agbelohab. But hopefully we can keep the good luck rolling. We did have some misses on last week's card, but it's all about being more right than wrong in the long run. So without further ado, in the flesh for the first time. So, well, virtually in the flesh, if you want to call it that, but let's get into it. Let me dap you guys up and let's get into it. So the first prelim I'm going to be breaking down is Terrence McKinney versus Vyacheslav Borshev. So with this fight, Terrence McKinney has a record of 16 wins and 7 losses, and Vyacheslav Borshev has a record of 8 wins, 5 losses, and 1 draw. Terrence McKinney is a slight favorite at minus 175, and Vyacheslav Borshev is a slight underdog at plus 140. See, we got Terrence McKinney is 3-2 in his last 5, whereas Vyacheslav Borshev is 2-1. So with this fight, we have the stereotypical hammer in Terrence McKinney. He's a first round fighter. If the fight goes past the first round, he's shown he gets finished by his opponents and his cardio wears off. Whereas Vyacheslav Borshev, he is a former kickboxer. He has really good striking, but his takedown defense isn't good. He got taken down and beaten up by Chase Hooper in his third to last fight. With this fight, I think Terrence McKinney is the more well-rounded fighter. Although he might not have the better cardio, I think if he can get this fight to the ground with his wrestling, I think he could win by round 1 submission against Vyacheslav Borshev. Borshev is tough, but the lack of takedown defense, I think, is going to be the deciding factor in this fight. Moving on next. In the featured prelim of the evening, we have Jack Hermanson versus Gregory Robocop Rodriguez. Jack Hermanson has a record of 24 wins, 8 losses, and Gregory Rodriguez has a record of 16 wins and 6 losses. So with this fight, Gregory Rodriguez has the power advantage. He has good wrestling, he has good jiu-jitsu. He doesn't have the best defense, he doesn't have a great chin. And Jack Hermanson, he has a good jab, he has good footwork, he has good wrestling. And I think he is going to have the cardio advantage in this fight. I think for Gregory Rodriguez to win this fight, I think he's going to have to establish himself early on. He's going to have to walk Jack Hermanson down, try to pressure him backwards and land some big shots, land some hooks. But I think the longer this fight goes, I think it favors Jack Hermanson with his jab, with his footwork. I think Gregory's footwork is a little too predictable, and I think Jack Hermanson can outpoint him to a decision. So I'm gonna say Jack Hermanson by 29-28, unanimous decision. Moving on to the main card, we have Peyton Talbot versus Felipe Lima. Peyton Talbot has a record of 9 wins and 1 loss, and Felipe Lima has a record of 14 wins and 1 loss. So in Payton Talbot's last fight against Howdy Barcelos, he showed that his ground game definitely needs work. He was getting dominated by Howdy on the ground, and he was not able to get back to his feet. And I think this fight is a little bit too soon for Payton, considering he just got his wrestling exposed. I think Felipe Lima is really good. I think he has good wrestling, has good jiu-jitsu. I think he can compete with Payton on the feet, and I think he can find a takedowns in general. I think he's even alive for a submission in this fight. I think for Payton to win, he's going to have to keep the fight standing and maintain his distance with straight shots, but I don't think that's going to happen in this fight. I think Felipe Lima is going to win this fight by submission. I just think Payton Talbot's taking this fight a little bit too soon. He should have. Well, he can't really pick his fights, but I think the UFC should have given him a guy with good striking who doesn't want to engage in wrestling. But I'm gonna say Felipe Lima by submission. Moving on next, Beneil Dariush versus Renato Moicano. Beneil Dariush has a record of 22 wins, 6 losses, and 1 draw, and Renato Moicano has a record of 20 wins, 6 losses, and 1 draw. So both these fighters are both 36 years old, although it seems like Beneil Dariush is the one that gets questioned about his age and whatnot. But in his last 2 fights, he got knocked out both times by Charles Oliveira and Arman Tsarukyan. Whereas Renato Moicano, he's been looking good. He beat Benoit Saint-Denis by doctor stoppage at UFC Fight Night Paris last September. These are going to be 2 grapplers, 2 guys who want to get the fight to the ground. I think Beneil Dariush's jiu-jitsu is going to be a little bit better. I think his wrestling's a little bit better than Moicano's. Dariush was a no-gi champion in jiu-jitsu. He has some of the best jiu-jitsu in the UFC. Moicano's jiu-jitsu just a little bit worse in my opinion. And I think Beneil has better striking as well. I think his striking is cleaner. Whereas Moicano's, he's not really gonna have much finishes on the feet against people. Whereas Beneil, he's shown he can knock out people in the UFC. I think if Beneil can mix in takedowns or even keep the fight standing if he wants to, I think he has multiple paths to victory in this fight. People will say Dariush doesn't have a chin and Moicano is looking good, but I feel like Dariush only loses to people with knockout power and really good striking, whereas I think Moicano isn't that kind of fighter. I think Moicano is more of a take you down and control you type of fighter. So I think Beneil's gonna have the advantage in the scrambling department. I think he's gonna have advantage in striking, and I just think Beneil Dariush by a 29-28 unanimous decision against Renato Moicano to be the play in this fight. Moving on next, we have Brandon Raw Dog Royval versus Joshua the Fearless Van. So, Brandon Royval has a record of 17 wins and 7 losses, and Joshua Van has a record of 14 wins and 2 losses. So with this fight, Brandon Royval was originally scheduled to fight Manel Kopp, but Manel Kape pulled out due to an injury. So Josh Van is stepping in on, I think, 3 weeks' notice, 2 or 3 weeks' notice. He last fought at UFC 316 3 weeks ago, and he dominated Bruno Silva and knocked him out in the third round. To my disappointment, as I had the fight going distance in my parlay, and that was the leg that my parlay missed on. So I was kind of annoyed, but at the same time, I was happy for Josh Van. So with this fight, we have two boxers, two guys who have good jabs, two guys who want to keep the fight standing primarily. I think Brandon Royval's now the cardio advantage. He usually pushes a crazy pace, good output. He's been able to outstrike Brandon Moreno in his career, which is a tough task. Joshua Van probably has the better boxing, as I think he has the hooks, and I think he has more output on the feet. But I think Brandon Royval has the grappling upside. If he can find a way to get this fight to the ground, he could even get a submission possibly. But for Joshua Van to win, he's gonna need to keep the fight standing. And if he does get taken down, he's gonna have to get back up as fast as possible. And I think Brandon Royval being 5'9" and having a 3-inch reach advantage in this fight, and I think Brandon Royval has just faced the better competition at flyweight. He's been Brandon Moreno. In his last fight, he beat Tatsuro Taira as an underdog. I feel like people are usually sleeping on Brandon Royval, and I think Brandon Royval is the proof of doubters wrong once again tomorrow night. And I'm going to say Brandon Royval wins this fight by a unanimous decision. I'm going to say 29-28. Moving on to the co-main event of the evening. We got Alessandre the Cannibal Pantoja versus Kai Don't Blink Kara-France. Alessandre Pantoja has a record of 29 wins and 5 losses, and Kai Kara-France has a record of 25 wins and 11 losses. Pantoja is a minus 265 favorite, whereas Kai Kara-France is coming in at a plus 200 underdog. Pantoja is 35, whereas Kara is 32. This fight, we have a guy who is like a dog on the bone with Alessandro Pantoja. The way he hunts for takedowns, he hunts for any opportunity to be able to find your neck and get you to the ground. He's one of the best jiu-jitsu practitioners in the world. In his last fight, he submitted Kaya Sakura by a rear naked choke in round 2, I believe. And he has a granite chin. He took some big shots from Kaya Sakura. He's taken some big shots from Brandon Moreno. He's faced power punches before, and he hasn't been deterred. But he does like to walk straight forward with his chin in the air, and his defense isn't the best. He likes to take a lot of punches. And then we have Kai Kara-France, who is a striker primarily, but he has great takedown defense. He has great defense once defending submissions. He has a good overhand. He has good footwork, good defense on the feet. I think with this fight, Alessandro Pantoja is gonna have to close the distance on Kai. Kai Kara-France is gonna have to present that power. He's gonna have to present his straight punches because we know Pantoja doesn't like to defend himself properly at times. And I think Kai Kara-France also needs to implement lateral movement so it can be harder for Pantoja to be able to get a hold of him. I think Kai Kara-France as a plus 200 underdog, I think that's a nice line for me. I think Kai Kara-France might be the move. He has a good overhand right. Like I said, he has great takedown defense. He has good defense as well in general on the feet. I feel like Pantoja, he beat Brandon Royval because Brandon Royval's takedown defense isn't that great. And he beat Kyle Sakura because his takedown defense wasn't that great. But I think Kai Car France is like a perfect blend of he has really good striking and he has great takedown defense. So I think at plus 200, I'm going to be picking Car France. I'm going to say he wins this fight by knockout. I think he's going to be able to find the kill shot. As much as I don't want to pick Kai Car France because I'm a huge Alessandro Pantoja fan, I think I got her. So I'm going to say Kai Car France is going to become the new undisputed UFC flyweight champion. Moving on to the main event of the evening for all the marbles in the lightweight division, we have the former undisputed UFC featherweight champion Ilia El Matador Topuria versus the former lightweight champion Charles do Bronx Oliveira. Ilia Topuria has a perfect professional record at 16 wins, no losses, whereas Charles Oliveira has a record of 35 wins and 10 losses. This is Ilia Topuria's first fight in the lightweight division. He's moving up after saying that he's not quite able to make the cut down to 145, and he wants to be able to have a better cut, be able to eat a little bit more of what he wants to eat. But with this fight, we have a technical aggressor versus a agent of chaos. We have a bull versus matador with Ilya and Charles. Ilya has really good boxing, really good combinations. He's usually on the front foot, and that's how he finds most of his success. When he's on the back foot is when he tends to get gunshot, when he tends to struggle a little bit. And then we have Charles Oliveira, who's a Muay Thai striker. He has good straight shots, good length at 5'10", with the 74-inch reach. And he doesn't have the best defense. We've seen him get dropped against Dustin Poirier. We've seen him get dropped against Justin Gaethje. Beneil Dariush was having success against Charles in the first round of their fight early on. And I think in order for Charles to win, he has to invite the clinch. He has to stay on the front foot against Ilya. Don't take too many steps back. And I think he's gonna have to get this fight to the floor and implement his wrestling. And he can catch Ilya with some leg kicks. Ilya does not have good leg kick defense. Um, and I think Charles, at times, he is going to be able to counter Ilya because Ilya, he likes to swing for the bleachers. When he's looking for that kill shot, he tries to dismiss his defense. And for Ilya to win, he's going to have to stay on the front foot as he normally does. And he's going to have to find the hooks against Charles because that's the fight, or that's the punch that Islam Makhachev was able to drop Charles Oliveira with in the second round of their fight in 2022. And Ilya has great hooks, he has great overhands. This fight is going to come down to whoever takes the first step back because both these guys are aggressive fighters. They're not quite as dangerous off their back foot. I think Ilya can even implement his wrestling. He has heavy top pressure. If he is able to knock down Charles Oliveira, he could even get like a club and submission, maybe like a head and arm triangle. But for this fight, I'm going to say Ilia El Matador Topuria is going to win this fight. I'm going to say by an early round 2 knockout. I think he's the more technical fighter. I think Charles, he does make mistakes, although he is probably the best jiu-jitsu practitioner in the UFC. On the feet with that high guard, you can sneak hooks around him, and I think he does have a tendency to struggle against wrestlers like an Arman Sarukian and Islam Makhachev. And Ilya, I think he's gonna keep his perfect record intact. I think he's improved to 17-0 and become the undisputed UFC lightweight champion. So I got a parlay tomorrow. I got Jack Hermanson. I got Brandon Royval. I got the under 1.5 in Oliveira versus Topuria, Felipe Lima, and got Beneil Dariush as well. I think it's like plus 20-21 odds. I don't know. I think if it is going to mess up, I think it's going to probably mess up on Jack Hermanson or Beneil Dariush. But I think it has a good chance of hitting, honestly. For being that long of odds, it's actually pretty realistic. But yeah, as far as how I'm doing outside of the UFC stuff, been trying to stay afloat with homework at school. It's getting a little bit hectic, but my grades aren't bad right now, thankfully. And hopefully I can finish the rest of the summer semester off strong as ends in a couple more weeks. But glad to be with you guys for the first time on camera. And I hope you guys are doing well. If you guys are going to be betting on UFC 317, I hope you guys bet responsibly as usual. And I'll catch you guys on another episode of the Harold Porte Podcast. Peace.